Hey, Planet Earth. Welcome to Machete Comics. I'm Chris Machete. There's Brent, and we have a very special guest from my hometown now, Kingston, because I live here as well, which is awesome. We have Bill Welychka. Bill, welcome to the show, my friend.
Man, I was just watching that intro and surf music meets Batman with the cool graphics. I love it. It's going to be the
Thanks,
best
my
time
friend.
ever.
Thank you. Our producer's right here, and she loves that. She's a very appreciative of that. Yeah.
Great job. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show, man. I'm so glad to have you on here. First of all, as I mentioned, my parents are the biggest fans in the world of yours. They are so excited for this episode. Dorothy and Gary are their names.
Dorothy and Gary, if they watch, thank you so much, guys. Love you.
I gotta correct them for 1 second. It's actually Dangerous Dorothy
Oh, okay. Sorry.
and Gracious Gary. We need to get that right, Bill.
Brent has had beers with my dad before.
That's right.
And
Gracious.
they picked up 2 copies of this, one for me and one for them.
Oh,
And man, very excited to have you and talk about this because I'm Gen X, so I grew up with you, my friend.
I grew up with much too in high school. I would run home like everyone else to watch music videos. So
What a thrill that must be, then, huh?
yeah. So, and I talk about it in the book, and then working there one day alongside people and with people that I would go home to watch was pretty amazing. So, and not just that, but pictures in my locker, patches on my jean jacket, buttons on my jean jacket of all these
Represent.
artists that I would eventually interview and bond with. So, yeah, pretty surreal looking back.
Man, I couldn't imagine being like because I worshipped Ozzy growing up, and Motley Crue, and then I'm reading about you like, well, they're flying me over to New York here to the Ozzy Blizzard of Oz tour. Like that, dude, like that stuff like that must have blew your mind. Was there a band that you like were a little leery of going to see because you were kind of worried how they would treat you? Like, oh my gosh, these guys are gonna like smack me around or be so rude to me.
I've been so lucky. Everyone, I can only think of one negative experience in almost 5,000 interviews where I wish
Wow.
I could have done that one better or could have been presented better. That was Blur. And I'll talk about that later. But no, if
Yeah.
you want. But I've been very fortunate. Like Ozzy, yeah, I saw him on the Blizzard of Oz tour in the 9th grade. And there I am on his
Wow.
private jet
Ooh.
flying around, following him for 3 or 4 days, him and Sharon actually. And yeah, it's not until after the interview or after the assignment you think back and you go, that was pretty freaking cool. What an honor. And I've never taken it for granted. I've always been grateful and thankful where my path has led me and where I've had this amazing opportunity. And and grateful to be talking to a couple of guys that are curious. So
We are. Yeah. When did you come up with the idea for the book? Was this like a long time coming?
I've been asked about a book for decades, usually in one ear and out the other. I just thought, no one's going to care. Big deal. I didn't find a cure for cancer. No one's going to really care much. But then when I moved to Kingston, the Kingston Whig Standard asked me to do a monthly column about my life or media. And again, same reaction. I don't know if anyone's going to care. Yeah, I'll do it for 4 or 5 months. So it was a monthly column. It ended up getting syndicated. It lasted 4 or 5 years. And then I just thought, okay, maybe I'll have the beginnings of a book here. Sort of didn't think about it much after that. And then COVID hit. I started getting asked to do a lot of podcasts. A lot of podcasters started springing up. And I inevitably said yes to a lot of them. And more stories started coming out. And then one day during COVID, I think late 2021, I just started banging away at my keyboard, not really transcribing the old columns, but using those sort of as a jumping off point to start writing and using the stories from the podcast. And about halfway through 2022, I realized that I had the formation of a book. And just had fun with it. Just kept writing. By the end of the year, I thought I was done, and then there was a second draft and a third draft. And Amanda, my fiance, read the first draft at one point and said, "You can't put that in there. That's my parents are going to read this book, Bill." So there were little things like that, and I would, move stuff around, delete stuff, add stuff. So I found a publisher that I really wanted it out this year. It's my 35th year in broadcasting. And I really wanted out this year. There's this Much Music doc that was coming out this year. I just thought it was a good year to have it out this year. And it's been out for a month and a half. And I'm surprised that people care. is how I started this whole meandering off. Like no one's going to care. People still do. In the documentary, almost sold out Roy Thompson Hall for the premiere screening.
Congratulations.
There's something nostalgic about looking back. I know I don't want to look back too much. I like to respect the past. And I know a lot of people do want to talk about the past. So I think this is Sean Menard, the director of the doc, this is his way of looking back. And this book is my way of looking back, but also looking towards the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it amazes me that there's a strong fascination with much music still.
Well, we all grew up. I mean, when I grew up outside of Port Perry, an even smaller town with Chris. We're talking like Caesarea Blackstock, where cable didn't even come in until like 85, and you had 4 people or 5 people in town that had it, and you would sit around and watch, the Pepsi Power Hour, and you would sit around and watch the new music and watch all these things. So when I first got cable, the very first channel I turned on was Much Music. Because it was like, this is so cool that I had, Chris, I think it was even channel 24.
It was channel 24.
It was
I
channel
remember correctly. Yeah.
channel
That's
24.
where you got all your information on
That's all
music, though, right? There was no internet. It was like the VJs told you what was going on, the videos, the live.
Yeah.
Well, here's Ozzy, like in Florida. Look what he did here. Like, wow, it's amazing. Yeah, I love all that stuff. I wanted to ask Bill one more question about his book, though, before, and I'll pass it over to you, Brent. I love the way your chapters are like little stories. And for a comic book enthusiast myself, and somebody who likes everything set out for me in little sections, you know what I mean? When I tackle a book, if I'm looking at a huge book, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? But this is like all these fantastic little stories and chapters. It's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino movie to me, you know what I mean? Like the way you got set up. How did you come up with that idea?
Just the way stuff came out. Each chapter sort of leads into the next one, but
Right?
you can stop and pick it up later. I've been hearing from people that they can't put it down, which is a really nice compliment. What I like best about the way it's structured is, it's broken down into, not short chapters, but succinct chapters that have a beginning, middle, and end, and it carries on. But the chapter titles, I don't have the book in front of me. If you want,
I do right here, man. Yeah, I love the chapter titles. Well, this is. Of course, I look at this first. Flask of whiskey. Oh, I'm in. Okay, there we go. Music as a badge. I'm an adult. On the air and manual jacket. These are great. These are like little comic book titles for issues to me.
There's one in there. Pooping alpacas.
Booze cans and floor hockey. There you go, right? Death and Gord Downing. There's a little bit of a serious one. Egos and empathy. A sad border crossing. There's a Slash one. Slash is porn. I gotta check that.
But when I was, I didn't have titles, just numbers initially, and the publisher, the editor, came back and said, "Should really give these titles." And I said, "Okay." So I remember scrolling through, realizing what that chapter was about, and it was just for me, give it a weird title just so I can reference it back later. And then when I'd finished that, I remember looking at these chapter titles going, I like the way these sound. And the idea is that you approach pooping alpacas and you think, what the hell would this chapter be about? By the end, you go, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And see, as a comic book enthusiast, that's the only thing that's one of the main things will get me to read a book or read a comic, is knowing there's something leading to the next. I love Easter eggs and stuff. And as I say, I haven't dove fully into it yet, but it looks like this is going to be something that I can appreciate on a comic book level as well, which is odd to say, right? But I can see it in there, and I appreciate the way you put it together. Yeah, I'll pass it on to Brent now.
Well, it's funny because Chris and I were in a band together for years, and we never had song titles that had anything to do with the songs.
Right.
I love that.
I do too, man.
Right there. Well, I couldn't find the part in the song where the title was.
Yeah, where do you actually say that? No,
you won't. You won't actually do it. It's way more fun. Bill, so as we dive into it, so we dove a little bit into the documentary that's coming out. I know you got a limited time, so we can. There's a documentary about 299 Queen Street. Basically about Much Music or around that time. But you said you were a fan before you joined him. And then once you joined him, it became this like dream come true for you. Chris and I have been talking about the videos that we've watched and some of our favorites of all time. So why don't we go down that road for a minute and have a discussion about some of our favorite videos that influenced us, but like might have changed music, might have changed the way we listen or watch, because music videos between 79 and in 1990 were like
Well, Gowan, Criminal Mind. When I first saw
Yeah.
Gowan, Criminal Mind, I was like,
yeah.
I can
So-
watch this and listen to this, and to me that was mind blowing. Again, comic books, right? But
Yeah, there's no other video like that, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Aha,
Canadian, dude.
Aha, with their comic book
Yeah.
like video that came
That
later
one as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you have, so what were some of your favorite videos, Bill? I know you wrote some stuff down around that time that kind of maybe led you to A, wanting to be a VJ, but two, being able to show these things in full time.
Probably the first one that blew me away. And looking back now, the effects were just cheesy, but it was sort of groundbreaking back then. Was Ashes to Ashes, David Bowie.
Oh yeah.
And if you recall the video, it's like it's some really cheesy effects by today's standards. But back then, it was like a dream within a dream and really surreal dream sequences that only Bowie can work with a director and say, I want this, this, and this, and then it coming off the way it did, just like Bowie's songwriting, very fractured. And but yeah, that video blew me away, and I freaking loved it. I remember Tom Petty, You Got Lucky. It was about the apocalypse, and he was driving a bike, and they come across an old arcade, and I've never seen a video like that before. More recent videos, when I was with Much, Lightning Crashes by Live, I always thought was a beautiful video. I love Tim Pope's work with The Cure, Close to Me, In Between Days, Just Like Heaven. Tim Pope's a brilliant British film director. He directed more than a handful of Cure videos over the years. Collective Soul, Lightning Crash, or not, Collective Soul, The World I Know.
Right.
I just remember seeing that video for the first time, and it's like powerful. It sort of deals with suicide in an unrelated way to the actual song, but the way the video is presenting itself, it's very moving. And any video that can move you, just like any good art, any piece of art, any good song, any good work of literature that moves you, I think is valid and it's important. So yeah, videos some might think are just frivolous 3.5-minute commercials for a song, but if they're done right, they're beautiful pieces of work for sure.
It really gave the artist side of the musician a chance to explore. Like, here's a short movie for your song. Because I remember, like, one of my favorites it was like We're Not Gonna Take It. I remember as a kid just watching that intro, and it was like, well, they took part of Animal House, I believe, right? The whole deal. And I can remember just sitting there and watching all that. So it gave musicians a chance. Okay, well, no, it doesn't have to just be where the music is. We can put it on the front, on the end of this. We can do whatever we want, right? So one of mine was We're Not Going to Take It. And I also remember, for some reason, Come On Feel the Noise really affecting me as a kid and being excited to see it. Because I think it was just so early, and matching the song with that mask on the screen and being thrown into the crowd. The mystique of the live show being kind of brought to the video was cool. And that one stuck out for me as well.
There was a really interesting mix there too between the 80s, because the hairband thing was so prevalent and massive at that point. So Bill, you had the Cure and Depeche Mode side of it that were doing the super maybe serious videos.
Right.
But then you had, we couldn't wait for the new Poison video because we knew it was just going to be a party, and then Slayer were making these kind of videos that only ended up on the Power Hour that were like dark and dreary. And it was like all these people were making these different kinds. And it must have been so fun to
be a part of that.
To be a part of that and sit in those rooms and go, look at these new videos that just come in.
I was never a big Michael Jackson fan. Really wasn't my sort of music. But yeah, like his videos when they were on Much Music and when MTV was debuting them, like brilliant. And I think a lot of these artists wouldn't have sold as many albums as they did without music videos. It was just another way to get their name, to get their songs out there. Sadly, it doesn't exist anymore. Well, we have YouTube, but I don't think YouTube breaks artists like a new video, a new band would on Much or MTV. Mm-hmm. And much MTV would wait until it's a hit before they played it. Much Music didn't wait for it to be a proven hit.
They made hits.
Yeah, we created a star.
It also created a scene. It created a scene, Bill, to your point. Like we especially us coming through having a band in 1994.
It was the indie scene, right? With Speaker's Corner, with the Bare Naked Ladies, the whole part of that. What was the green tape or the green cassette they had?
The yellow tape, yeah.
The yellow tape, yeah. And all starting from that, and Much Music and Speaker's Corner were so hand in hand. It was great. I remember the interviews and people would come down and hang out on the main street and bang on the window and stuff. And
yep.
I remember Bush being down there and Gavin Rosdale, I believe, and he was out talking to the crowd, and he said, "You're effing brilliant," but he said and the swear got in there, and I remember he got away with it. You know what I mean? Because it was all live, and the crowds were huge down there, right?
We were just talking about Todd Kearns off
Yes.
before we started recording.
Yeah.
Todd and I were talking on the weekend, and this morning I get to work, and he emailed me a picture. I guess he was watching a Stone Roses documentary. And I knew I was in it. I haven't seen the Stone Roses doc. I guess the director found interviews from Stone Roses back in the mid 90s. And there's a segment of our live Much interview in that doc. And there's the picture he took, and I had really long hair at the time. And I'm talking, I forget who the guy from Stone Roses were, but I'm looking at him and doing the interview, and he's leaning over to light a smoke. This is inside. So, yeah, we weren't allowed to smoke in the building back then, but he's a rock star. Tell him no, you're not going to, probably he's not going to listen to you. But yeah, it was a beautiful time. And I totally forgot about that Stone Roses interview until Todd sent me this still from the doc he was watching.
It's such an interesting time because Chris talked about Speaker's Corner, but you also had the MMVAs, which became the biggest thing. Like the Much Music Video Awards were so incredible to be what you guys jammed in that space. It's just an incredible thing that was created, and I think our industry and our kids are desperately missing is that sense of community. And I think it's great that this documentary is coming out at the same time that your book is out. So it's a really great time for you.
Well, I've been telling people in interviews for the book and the doc that, sadly, it will never be recreated, that magic that Much Music was, what it did for artists, what it did for pop culture, what it did for music fans. It also got fans closer to their favorite artist physically, when we talk about those Iron Eyes, and just inviting them into the Much environment. I remember someone showed me this Marilyn Manson interview I did live on Much. It was during the day, and I had never seen it. I forgot about it until since doing the interview. I want to say 98, maybe 97. And yeah, we had a live studio audience there. And I remember that with Oasis, with Noel Gallagher. And speaking of Todd Kearns, Age of Electric, we had a little audience for them when they would, and this was like during the day. It wasn't like these live, intimate interactives for an hour and a half. Artists would come during the day, during the week, even on the weekends, come and talk for 20 minutes. Like we had Noel Gallagher come in for 2 segments, I think. They were in town, Maple Leaf Gardens, maybe. But he had the afternoon off, and he came to Much for 20 minutes, 2 segments, played live. It was brilliant. Then it was casual. These artists love Much because it wasn't a whole lot of red tape and emails back and forth to set something up. It was just, it was easy. Come on down. And they knew it was national. Yeah, and that can never happen ever again, sadly.
But you were in there. That's awesome. That's awesome. So everybody needs to pick up this book. And is there a tour going on for the documentary you were mentioned that you can let us know a little bit about?
The documentary is, you're seeing the dates there. So
there we go.
Canadian premiere was a couple of Fridays ago. That was a lot of fun seeing everyone. I'm not doing the whole tour. I'm promoting the book on my own and touring around Ontario for now, doing indigos and chapters. I'm on for a couple of the dates though for that tour. So yeah, and it was just fun to see Steve Anthony and Erica and Rick. Man. At the premiere a couple of weeks ago.
You think that would work if they relaunched Much Music the way it was?
Good question. I don't know. Sadly, I don't think so. I don't know. I think it could. That's a really good question.
I think they need to take all the old archive footage and put it out.
It depends on how it's presented. It depends on who you're going to hire to interview rock bands. And I talk about this in the book. You need meat in interviews again. You don't need interviewers asking, who are you wearing on a red carpet? You need to let the artist talk. You need to let the interview breathe. Much Music got to a point where they didn't really want to do live interviews unless there were screaming fans, which doesn't really lend itself to a great interview because all you hear for most of that interview is screaming. and very little of the interview. I remember a time where you would let artists breathe, and then it became about a 10-second soundbite. So I think if the way the music is presented, if if those things are in place, I think it would be successful again.
A lot of retro music, though, right?
What's your takeaway for this book, Bill? What do you want people to pull out of this? Because there's some great stories, as you mentioned. And Chris is a comic book published. He's published a comic book. You know, that feeling of having that book in your hand after writing it must have been amazing. But is there something in that book where you're like, you know, your journey, or is there something that you want people to take away from this thing?
I didn't want it to be the ramblings of some old guy saying, "Hey, let me tell you about the time that I interviewed David Bowie or Madonna or you know, Kiss." I didn't want it to be that. I knew there'd have to be stories. A lot of the book is devoted to interviews and segments from interviews and hearing what the artist has to say. And there's also some, as the subtitle of the book says, some life lessons that, exciting times and lessons learned. There's some meat in there about things that I have learned about people, about the business that I share.
Some good pictures too, buddy.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I had one review after someone bought it. I don't know, I forget. It was a review that I read online where she said, you know, I know nothing about music or artists. I know nothing about TV or technology. She goes, but I love this book. And what did she say? I finished the book being happy about the world again, or something like that.
That's a nice quote.
Really heavy. But she got it. You know, you don't have to know who I am to enjoy the book. And if you had only remembered me from a certain time, and a lot of people only do, because I went from a large market national level to a slowly winding my way down to a smaller market at a local level. That's where the Has Been title comes from. I've never stopped working, but yeah, it's for anyone really. If you don't know
the journey
who I am,
and the entertainment,
who I am,
man.
It's a fun story. Yeah.
It's gotta be fun.
Man.
Awesome. Well, we got your 20 minutes, my friend. I don't know if you want to jet. We're going to talk about some wrestling now, or if you had any more you want. Do you have time for the Blur story or no? Because I remember Nardwar. One of the biggest interview I remember with Nardwar was them taking his hat and throwing it out a building, a huge building.
Oh, that wasn't good then.
No. Well, he was really upset.
I've interviewed Damon and Alex before live on Much, and it was great. And a couple albums later, they came back for the afternoon. It wasn't quite an I&I. It wasn't hyped, and it wasn't in the evening, but it was during the day, and they were going to play for an hour and talk, you know, in between their set. And there's a live audience and people outside. They came to play. They didn't really want to talk. Doesn't matter what the question was, what the subject was. It's just a lot of, what are you going to do? You throw to a fax question. You throw to an audience question. Same thing. They just didn't feel like talking. We got through it. At the end of the broadcast, the road manager comes up and says, "This was great. Great job." I'm thinking, no, it wasn't. What are you talking about? This wasn't a very good show at all. And he goes, "Oh, no, we did this in Montreal yesterday. That really wasn't a good show." I can only imagine how bad that one was.
Wow.
So,
did you interview them again after that?
I don't think so. Not after
I was going to say, because you'd be going, oh, geez.
That's got to be a lesson, though, Bill, right? Isn't that a lesson, like at that moment for you as a journalist, where you're like, you really have to dive into the vault and try to rescue it, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's on your shoulders, and sink or swim. You don't want to look like an idiot, and you don't want to be blamed for a bad interview, and I don't think I was ever blamed, because, you know, you realize quick that you don't take it personally. And, you know, they might have missed their flight. They might have, you know, missed breakfast. Something might have set them off. There's always a reason. And you don't take it personally.
You don't want to add to that reason, right?
Yeah. Luckily, that was the only time I've ever had an experience where I wish it went better.
And they didn't take your hat and throw it out a window or anything like Nardwar there.
No, thank God, no.
You know, because he loves that hat too.
I would have put Damon in a headlock if he had done that.
He was really upset, man.
But I would have given him a suplex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right out the window.
Segway wrestling. You got time for wrestling, buddy, or you got a jet? Got time for some
I got
wrestling?
time. Let's talk wrestling, man.
Okay, so what I want to talk about is Canadian wrestlers, and this is wild because like I going through this list, I love doing the research because I learn stuff myself, and it's stuff I'm interested in, not math. So Val Venus, Canadian.
Yep.
Jinder Mahal, Canadian. Vampiro, Canadian.
Oh,
Gail
Vampiro,
Kim.
yeah. He came out in New York a little while ago.
Davey Boy Smith, like some of the other some folks be like Davey Boy Smith. No, he's from England, but no, he's Canadian.
Well, he
right?
came through Bret's dad's, Bret Hart's
family,
dad's
right?
dungeon, yeah.
And that's an interesting thing all in itself. My God. And of course, you have the Owen Hart and Bret Hart, who are possibly the greatest Canadian wrestlers ever, possibly. But Roddy Piper again, he's Canadian. A lot of people would not have known
Toronto,
that, Yeah, and he's my favorite all time. Bill, like
I
Roddy
can see
Piper.
that. I love him. Yeah.
The shirt and everything. Back in the day, I had the shirt, had the action figures, right? Do you have like whenever I see that shirt too, I'm just like, WWF, not WWE. Do you have is Honky Tonk Man your guy for that era?
I have about 12 action figures, a bobblehead I just came out. Lots of pictures, a signed Smash guitar, and a replica WWF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship title.
All Honky Tonk Man stuff,
all
right?
Honky Tonk Man, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance? Did you ever get a chance to meet him?
Oh, a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew the answer to that. I just wanted for the yeah.
I love it. There's a picture of Wayne and I in the book a couple of times. I've talked to him. At a Chinlock wrestling match here. He saved me from getting smashed in the head with a garbage can from CJ Felony, and I had no idea Honky Tonk Man was even in the building.
That's amazing.
When his ring music hit and I looked up, I thought it was an impersonator, which would have been weird because he was a bad Elvis impersonator. So to impersonate Honky Tonk Man, probably would have been great. But no, it was him. Comes into the ring with a guitar and chased out CJ Felony, and he raised my hand.
That must have blew your mind.
I guess the only other thing that would have been more perfect than that is if he actually smashed you back over the head with the guitar.
Maybe
that's the ultimate tribute.
If he smashed CJ Felony's head with the guitar, that would have been good. Don't forget The Edge, Christian. They're Canadian as well.
Yes, yeah.
There's so many guys.
Jericho, of course.
Yep.
I love the best quote. I'm a big fan of Jericho as well. One of the highlights from him, he's wrestling. Somebody goes, "Go back to Toronto. I'm from Winnipeg, idiot." Just the way he calls him idiot, right? I just love it. I love it. Of course, Chris Benoit, who we're not allowed to talk about too much anymore. But wow, what a story there too. Kenny Omega. I did not realize Kenny Omega was Canadian.
I didn't know that.
No, and he's again one of my favorite newer wrestlers. I love his video game kind of approach
Winnipeg,
to things.
Again with that Winnipeg.
Yeah, right. That's what Abdullah the Butcher was Canadian. I don't know if you watched the Dark Side of the Ring on him, which was amazing. Wow.
I haven't seen that one. I didn't know he was Canadian either.
Yeah. Oh, Bill, you got to see the Dark Side. What a guy! Like he got sued by that gentleman from Ottawa.
Devin.
Or yes.
Hannibal. Yeah.
Hannibal, and he's got Abdullah's got no money. The guy's living in a shack. It's quite the documentary because he's another one of those guys that had it all and then just gone like Doink the Clown. The Doink the Clown one, the same thing. He had a bathtub that was like all gold and everything, and the next day he was fired and it was gone. It was over with.
Man,
crazy how that happens with him, right?
It's not the easiest life. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Jake the Snake Roberts and Mick Foley and all these guys over the years, in their later years, and they all walk with this slow, sort of hunched over, sore knees walk. They've all suffered from hip problems, knee problems, spinal issues in some cases, elbows. Yeah, it fucks your body.
It does. It's amazing to now because now that I can look back and see what was actually happening behind the scenes of these WWF stars that I love so much back, like the Honky Tonk Man, how he lost the title and really what happened behind the scenes, and why that happened. As an adult, I find it really
the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. And how he fought dropping the belt for so long and just the pain, how they what they did to fall asleep, what they did to wake up, what they did to deal with the pain, and how they had to work so much. And the Vince McMahon thing is just like this whole other crazy world. You know what I mean? But the dark side of the ring is so amazing. But talking of the pain and stuff, what wrestling moves have you taken, my friend?
I've been suplexed. I've been thrown through a table. I've been DDT'd. I've been chest chopped.
Not the slaps.
Oh yeah. Oh, it left like a welt.
Because I hear that's the one they really don't hold back on. That's the one they kind of test people on. From what
you got to make it loud. You got to make sure the guy in the back hears that slap. Yeah.
Dang. So what any of those hurt? Like really was one that we were like, wow,
yeah.
like
yeah. I almost well, I did actually suffered what do they call it? When your knee bends the other way, hyperextended it.
Yes.
Yeah. I had that happen during a suplex where I went up and I fell. I didn't keep my legs bent. So when you fall, you keep your knees bent. Because if you don't, this is what I did. My knees were flat. So my heels hit first the mat, which if you see what happens to your leg, your knee bends the other way.
The other way because of the velocity. Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's not cool. So yeah, there's little things like that you have to keep in mind. Chin in all the time, knees bent in a situation like that. Yeah. Otherwise,
the chin lock wrestling has some really rad events regularly.
They do great work for charity around the region. Yeah.
And you've been involved in quite a few of those too, haven't you?
I keep saying I'm done, and then
they keep dragging me back in.
I suffered pectoral muscles. To this day, my pecs sort of aren't attached to my chest.
Oh.
Yeah.
You need to start being just a manager, my friend.
Yep. So whenever I get the inkling to go back in, Amanda says, nope, you're not doing it.
Check your pecs.
Check the pecs. You need the D'Lo Brown body armor there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks,
he was an underrated wrestler, D'Lo.
I know, D'Lo.
Yeah. What a world.
Where can people find you online, Bill, before I let you go?
BillWelychka.ca. It's very simple. There's a nice YouTube channel if people want to walk down memory lane with some lots of clips out there as well. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. I love this.
Thanks for coming.
Love talking wrestling. Love talking comics. Love talking music.
We will run into each other again. Kingston's not that big, my friend. You know, and also Moist was playing just before COVID there, and Jeff, the bass player, I was teaching his son art lessons. So I was down checking out. You had a Motorhead shirt on. You were strolling through. I actually, again, said, hey, buddy, what's up? I complimented on your shirt. So we have run into each other a few times. I'm sure the next time we can actually give a high five and maybe have a beverage or something. You know what I mean?
I would love that.
I'll slide you some comic books. I really want you to read my comic book as well. It's based in Kingston, right? Like everything's got
that is so cool.
And the villain, my friend, is a wrestler from the 80s who took over the penitentiary. Got a big mask and everything. El Terrifico is his name. He's the villain. So you'll love. I'm gonna send those to you, okay, or drop them by or something for sure. I'm gonna get those to you. Yeah. I would love to have you in there. But yeah, and the book's there. Everybody, pick the book up. I got it. My folks got it. They're stoked.
And Gracious Gary and Dangerous Dorothy.
Thanks so much for coming by, Bill. We could talk for hours with you, my friend. You're one of. I talk a lot, and when it's something I enjoy, I really have a hard time holding back. And man, I can't wait to talk to you again.
It's going to be fun. Brent, thank you so much too, man. I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. We'll see you in a little while, buddy. And we'll talk a little bit more about this documentary coming up. So thanks.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, buddy. Bye. Whammo. Good to see Bill.
That was great. Really good. Yeah, there's so many memories. And I guess because you go through the different hairstyles of Bill and you'll see them all in the book, right?
No, it's pretty great, and I had a really good chat with one of his colleagues the other day.
Erica M.
With Erica M. About
Erica M. Every guy had a crush on Erica M. in their teens growing up, my friend.
And we kind of dove into this sort of space and what's going on, and it's going to be a cool little thing. I mean, we all grew up on Much Music. We all loved that part of it. It's such a part of our upbringing and culture. Mm-hmm. You know, it ranks right in there with Mr. Dress Up, the Beachcombers, you know, all the things that we grew up on. The
Grassy Junior High,
all the stuff that's crucial and part of our upbringing.
And they were key to the 90s scene too, as I mentioned, for the Bare Naked Ladies, for Rusty, for the Killjoys, for I Mother Earth, for Moist. Denise, what was her name?
Denise Donlin.
She was the one that would pick videos, and she picked that Moist one because of the charisma. And she was the one that made Moist. And then people like Bill Welychka, folks like that, Eric
Well,
M.
it was really cool to talk about it because, the vibe of, in much, and obviously I got to go in there a few times as a tour manager, and you would go in and see them kind of floating around, but we as the watcher would watch the thing, and Master T would be walking around talking about this, talking about that. Erica's eating something in the background, or Bill's, eating a sub. Like everyone's just there. It's like a live newsroom vibe, which I thought lent to the, the pureness of the show and the pureness of the place. We all wanted to just be in there because we just wanted to hang out there.
Mm-hmm.
And going in there to do a show, like an intimate interactive or something like that, it was anarchy, because it was like, all right, we'll build the band in, and then we're just going to put a bunch of people around them there was not really any, it was organized, but it was organized chaos. And if you could stand on a road case, or if you could sit on a chair, stand on a chair, that was your position to see these interviews. It was so loose. It was great.
It was cool. And that was the whole attitude of the music. It was a lot of do-it-yourself music. It was very indie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll ever see that again either. You know what I mean? There's a lot of times that you got to look back on to hopefully influence your future.
I know it's really something, but it's cool. It's a great spot. I put some videos on now. There's a couple of channels that were showing videos for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There's like Loud and some of these other ones that just show them all.
Yeah.
And,
so one thing we got to talk about here, final, we'll wrap up soon here. Edge has joined AEW officially, my friend.
Well, in the biggest surprise, not surprise,
I called it.
Our boy made the debut, so it's great.
I called it.
I just heard from Mike this morning too. Mike's like, "Are you guys gonna talk about Adam today?" And I'm like, "Well, we're talking to Bill. I don't know if we're gonna dive into it." But I said, but he was like, "Oh man, I sent him a text this morning saying so." With like that emoji that looks up in the sky, and he just came back and said kayfabe.
It was good. So Edge. So let me just briefly tell what happened.
Yeah.
So Sting and Darby Allin were fighting against Christian Cage and his group, and we know Christian Cage used to be partners with Edge, who is no longer being called Edge, but we'll get into that. And they had them beat down, man. They had the ring ripped apart, dude. It was just base wood, and they were like beating Sting and Darby, and then the lights go out. And then this intro comes into this dude. You can't really tell who he is. And he gets in this car and he slams like his old Mustang or something. I'm not into cars. You can't tell who it is, right? Screaming around. He comes to the arena. You see him get out. You can't tell who it is still. All the lights go off. You think you know me? Everybody goes crazy, man. Like just
you think
unreal.
You think you know him.
Is that what it said?
You think you know him? That's the new one.
Oh, they changed it. Okay. Oh, I didn't. I was so excited because I had a feeling it was him, and it was like, oh my god, and it was. And then, so anyway, he come out and he looked amazing, dude. Like he looked so good. He did his run thing back and forth. Introduced as Adam Copeland, no longer Edge. There he is, right there. Look at him. Doesn't he look good? Like he looks way better there than he did in his.
It looks great.
No offense to him, but he just looks. I don't know. To me, he looked a little defeated in his WWE finale. I was just getting a vibe that he wasn't really happy with it. And I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong.
And he made a statement last night. I think it was fine. We touched on it a little bit.
We did. A vibe I got. I could be wrong, dude.
I think it's never easy on those situations. And I think him going out with Sheamus was sort of like, this is the guy that brought me back, and I'm going to go out this way. But he made a statement last night in the press conference that said that the WWE and him have outgrown each other.
And I thought that is perfect. I think because here's the thing is we were both saying, well, who's he going to have his last match against? And he said it perfectly. He outgrew there was nobody there in his Spectre that he could have ended with on any kind of there was no Undertaker. There was no, you know what I mean? There was nobody he could have ended off. Now he's over with Christian and the Hardy Boys. And oh my gosh, dude. Do you think there's going to be a swerve coming up? Where
I don't believe.
I didn't get to finish what he was saying. So he shows up. You know, you think you know him. His song hits, and he comes, does this. Dude, they were losing it. I was losing it. It was great. He comes, he hits the ring. Christian's like, what's going to happen here? So Edge puts his hands out. Give me the chair. Takes a chair. He lines up Sting. And he takes out the one dude. He takes out the Brontosaurus guy there, and then he was gonna and then Christian Cage is all like, oh my god, and then Sting shakes hands with Darby and Sting, or Edge shakes hands with Darby and Sting, and kaboom, the crowd is just losing it. Edge is now AEW, my friends.
You know, and I think it opens up. We talked about we talked about sort of what it opens up. I don't think we're going to see Edge and Christian together. So if his contract is, let's just say his contract is 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you it's more like 3.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get those two for 3 more years. He's just got,
I don't. Yeah,
he's got too many guys to work through. They can do
that's
a program.
the WWE way to do it, right?
They're gonna like build this thing to like eventually. There's gonna be, you know, like they may fight. There may be some stuff, but I don't think you're gonna get the Edge and Christian reunion until the almost the end of the deal. And I think that's the way that, personally, because I think there's so many things that they could do, because with Adam Cole being out now and Punk being gone, Copeland becomes sort of like one of the main baby faces.
He's the biggest guy there.
He can go to MG. He can go to MJF. There's just so many guys that he can work with, so they can keep him and Christian away from each other for a while, but also have them intertwined. Because Christian just keeps saying, "I don't care that he's here." Like, you know, there's just the press conference last night was like, Christian's like, "I don't care." Like, and he's just
his character right now is
downplaying, and it's amazing. So if I'm a fan, I'm like, I want this build. Yeah. Not similar to the Bloodline scenario, but I want this build to go for a while, because everyone can't wait for them to get back together. Why give it to them right now?
Oh no, well, I don't think they'll wait as long as the WWF wait, but I think they'll do it. I think they'll do it sooner. Because I think they seem to do the opposite of the WWF. Like, I would say if it was in the WWF, they would wait like 3 years. It would go on forever and ever. I think the AEW is going to pull it off a little quicker. But I think that I think we're going to see a little spin here, and I think he's going to turn on Sting and Darby there. Because here's the thing is that he's the new head villain, right, Christian? MJF is now a face. He's turning a new leaf here. He's got all these morals going on in his head and figure out what he's doing. What a great character he plays. But Christian is the big heel in AEW, and now you bring in Edge, who is now like could either be the biggest face or jump into the biggest heel. What a great position for them, though. Whereas you watch the last SmackDown, and there was only 4 matches, and 2 of them were squash matches. 4 matches on the last SmackDown, dude.
I think Christian being in AEW is
thriving, though, right?
It's a substantial reason why that company is thriving, because of his psyche. And Adam's the same way. Tony would have been chomping at the bit to get Adam because
I know, right?
Because just the psychology of it, and FTR and all these guys that would have been there. It's very interesting. I think it's wonderful, and Adam
best move ever.
Really talked about it. It doesn't matter what letters are on, and it's a really great point. It doesn't matter whether it's AEW or WWE. It's like he went there and he's done all that he can do there. So now he's going to go here, and it like
he seems he looked rejuvenated though. Like I say, like it didn't look like it was like at WWF. Hey, it's my last match. This is not really how I wanted to go. I should have. Anyway, but then he comes into AEW and the fans have a different attitude. You know
what though, Chris? You know what though? Here's the thing about that. I agree with you, but I also, knowing that this has happened now, and we can comment. We know him a little bit. I didn't know this was happening. He kept it totally under the wraps.
Amazing. I love it.
So for me, just from a personal standpoint, and as a fan, there's a couple things. Knowing that he's there now, we know that him and Christian have been talking for probably 5 years since they had the end of their podcast about what to do. And Adam probably was like, I've got these matches left on my thing. I'm going to go and do these matches, and then I'm going to come over. So if you look at it knowing that all along he was planning on going to AW, right? At minimum, it's like there's just too many options. He definitely wanted to go there. And then knowing how he left the WWE, re-look at how he left the WWE, and you're going to realize he absolutely went out on his own terms.
He did, but
which is why this is exciting that he's now fired up, to your point, where he's just like, all right, that's over. That book is closed. Yeah. Now let's give these guys everything. It's going to be great.
I think he nailed it when he said he outgrew the WWE. Because I was trying to put into words why that last match didn't come up to expectations. And the thing is it wasn't Edge. It was the WWE. He outgrew it. There was nobody that could step up to his level in legacy level. like Captain America level. You know what I mean? Like there was nobody that could step up with him, and he got the closest guy he could, and good for him. That's rad. But the look on his face, man, last night, it makes me happy. I love seeing guys who I cheer for do well in life. Like,
Did you
like
see Beth?
the human side of the person, right?
Did you see Beth Phoenix's?
Yeah, with going to walk the dog with the
Oh, it
AEW.
was so great.
Beautiful,
it was so
man.
great. I loved
Beautiful.
it. It was so good, and she's such a fan, and like of him, and
Another Canadian
cheers
wrestler
him
as well.
on, and cheers him on, and everything, and it's just great. So,
it
anyways,
is good. I'm excited
rad.
for this because I really like the way AEW do things. It reminds me of the old way of the NWA kind of style and AEW. Anyway, the classic style. I love the way they do it.
AWA.
Yeah, and the ECW crowd is still has that vibe there. You fucked up, or holy fuck, hug it out. This is awesome. Like, holy shit, it's just great. And they were doing that for Edge last night, and I don't think he's had one of those in a long, like, if ever, because the WWE is a little more family oriented and yada yada. Now he's in his element, man. He's in with these crazy wrestling fans who have been around forever and love the nuttiness, and plus the violence that he's going to be able to do in his matches, man. Wow, it's going to be over the top. So anyway, from here at Live at Machete Comics, congratulations, Adam.
Yes, sir.
We will no longer the Edge. He's now Adam Copeland. He's his own man. I'm kind of glad he took that and didn't go back to his original name.
Sex in Our Castle.
That would have been funny. He could still do the whole day, like Mankind did his old.
I think it would be hilarious if he was Sex in Hardcastle on Saturday.
Eventually, I think eventually that would be really cool. But the way he came out last night was so like, dude, Edge is here. Watch out. It looked great. So congratulations, my friend. Congratulations, Adam, and all the best moving forward, my friend. I look forward to picking up your action figure.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome,
Yeah.
and we're catching a wave, so it's good. It's good for him.
Beautiful. So I've got a lot of stuff coming up on my end, but you guys just go check out machetecomics.ca to get all that. I've got a bunch of stuff going on this month. I'm really excited, but you'll see it. There's lots of live events. I'm leaving the house, Brent. I left the house yesterday. Holy cow!
I saw you were at a thing yesterday.
I was at SBT Comics. It was great. Met a whole lot of people. There's a lot of people that have seen me, and I was in competition with like a big comic convention, like an out of town source came in and held one. I was in competition. I did fine. Yeah, I was only there for an hour and a half, but still, people like me. Anyway, so what a great show, Brent. That was great.
What's not to like? Come on.
Okay. So what a great show. That was great to have Bill on here. And finally I got to actually, it was the third time I've actually met him, but actually got to talk with him. And I know I'm going to see him again and we'll hang out. And it's going to
Tell me about the book. I want to read it. I just have,
Well, as I said, I just got it yesterday. I had an in-store yesterday. I just kind of breezed through it. I love the way the chapters though are all set up and lead into each other. And it's not like you're sitting here reading. You don't feel like you're reading one large book. You feel like you're reading chapters and kind of a journey. And again, the names of the chapters, right? Like Madonna's Monitor, the Sad Border Crossing, pooping alpacas, as he was mentioning, Graham Parsons' Corpse, stuff like that. I'm looking forward to getting into it. Great guy, really rad dude. And again, I see him floating around Kingston. He's always smiling on his face, having a smoke. What's up, man? Casual dude, man. Yeah. And again, to say hi to my folks like that, way to go. How do you like that, Mom and Dad? There you go. And before we went on the air, he actually mentioned to my folks, if they ever want to swing by the studio, come by. I'll give you some autographs. We'll hang out. Like, what a rad dude.
What would be a really awesome show is the global news mornings with Bill, and then Dangerous Dorothy and Gracious Gary are there, and they're his guests. And Bill goes, "What do you guys do?" And Gary's like, "I watch the hockey game."
Yeah,
and Dangerous Dorothy and Dorothy's like, "And I kick ass." And that's
there you go.
That's what they do. That would be fun to do.
I like that. Well, that. So hi, Mom and Dad. There you go. You got your shout out from Bill, and he's offering to have you guys hang out sometimes. Drop by the station. He says anytime. What a great guy. Excellent guy. So anyway, thanks, Bill, for tuning in and showing up. And congratulations to Adam, right? And Brent, good to see you again, my friend. Are you here next week or no?
Where am I next week? I am here next week. I'm home until about the beginning of November. So I'm a hockey dad right now. Alex is I'm on the island of Vancouver Island right now, visiting his old buddies. I got a palm tree there. I'm a big palm tree guy.
I like
and
those. Cool.
And my friends just bought a place over here, so we're like, let's go over and visit. But it allowed me to have that awesome background of a
Yeah,
palm
no,
tree,
that's really
which
cool,
is-
buddy. Really
which
cool.
is
So we're gonna
pretty
start
cool.
horror movies next week. We're gonna start our horror segments.
Ooh.
Today for me is Harvest Day, and if anybody knows about Harvest Day, you know that it's a
Hey,
pretty exciting day for my backyard harvest. So I'm pretty stoked on that. So that's what I'm gonna do with the rest of my night. The rest of my night is gonna be doing that. And yeah, it's been a good harvest day. Good stuff. So
I got a hold of some sleep gummies the other day, and wow, that
oh,
was
nice.
magical, and that was
You're
some good
you're
sleep.
rested.
I'm rested. I'm feeling good. Yeah, I've got, and then speak just a couple things while we're talking, while we have everyone's attention from Bill's thing. Given the AEW news and how exciting it's all over the place right now, I just need to make the announcement that I got Renee Paquette on my show on Wednesday, and she's
Segue, very exciting.
and so that's super rad.
That'll be a
And
good
she's
show.
she's gonna be I'll hold it up. She's gonna be rocking, and she's
Yay,
coming
look at
on to
that.
talk
Another
about it.
Canadian wrestler.
Another Canadian, and then Erica M the week after. So
beautiful. You're getting all the ladies.
We're gonna have this, and Brittlestar comes back. We've got some good
That's cool. And
like
I
these things.
have
These things are
Dan
all
Day
connected.
from Marvel Comics.
And Dan Day from Marvel Comics. So we're gonna
I got
have
Dan Day from Marvel Comics over here.
a lot of cool things coming up between the shows, and it's really great. So
send some female guests my way occasionally. That'd be cool.
Okay, let me see what we can find.
It's always a sausage fest on my show, right?
I'll see what Erica's doing. Maybe she'll do it. Sausage.
People remember me. Well, it's funny, because I was talking just on an ending note here, talking about cannabis and marijuana and such. It's funny though, because I talk to people, they're like, man, I don't like to smoke marijuana because it pushes the mute button on me, and I don't talk. I don't like to talk. It makes me quiet. And they look at me and say, why do you like to smoke? And it's like, have we met? What puts the 100% mute button on you puts a 50% mute button on me. So maybe that's why I smoke a little bit of cannabis here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the light bulb goes off in their head, right, where they're picturing themselves not able to speak and having me speak way too much. It's like, oh, I get it. Yeah. Because I know that's happened to you. You must have done something sometimes like, wow, I don't really feel like talking anymore. Whereas I usually don't have that problem. It's the opposite. It's like, Chris, stop talking. So cannabis is great for people who have ADD, HADD, who talk a little too much. You get the right strand.
Well, it's also going to depend on your guests sometimes too. Sometimes your guests are going to take it and run, and then other times they're going to sit there and go, so what do you do? I do this. Shit. And it's going to be one of those interviews where you got to lead it. That just happened to me last week. And
yeah. I'm just talking general life, like me walking down the street talking to people.
But it's
all right, we got to wrap it up. We're getting hit from our producer because we got to wrap this up because we got to
all right
before a certain time. Okay, Brent, good to see you again. We'll see you next week. We'll all go and take our gummies and smoke our cannabis and have a wicked night. Again, thanks for tuning in, my friends. You guys are awesome watching us, Planet Earth. We love you. We love you. Keep tuning in. It's live from Machete Comics. I'm Chris. That's Brent over there. And party on. Be excellent to each other. Good times.
Rad dudes.
Mention Slayer.